The following is an exclusive presentation of WI Garden Media, the voice of Garden Talk Radio.
Coming up on the program today, we're going to discuss how you can have better container gardens, as well as shade-tolerant and soggy-tolerant plants. Our guest is author Maria Rodale, and will answer your garden questions. The hour is full, so join us.
You are listening to the most informationally packed hour of garden-focused radio in the country and on the internet with your host, husband and wife team Joey and Holly Baird. This is the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
And welcome to another edition of the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Happy to have you this week with us. I'm your host, Joey Baird. Beside me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
This program is for you, about you, to help your garden grow better, to maintain your landscape, grow healthier trees, make your grass look greener, as well as preserving what you grow. Happy you're tuning in, whether you're listening to us on one of the 20 AM and FM frequencies, broadcasting our program here in 2025 through our parent website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com. Underneath the Season 9 tab at the top of the page, podcast replay, in-studio video replay, however you're consuming it. Thank you very much. You want to be part of the program? Participation is welcome. You can do that. Two simplistic avenues. GardenTalkRadio@gmail.com. That's GardenTalkRadio@gmail.com. Or you can give us a call 24/7 anytime to 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. Before we get in the program, Holly, it's time for this week's Joke of the Week.
So why did the potatoes argue?
Something about their feet, the roots.
Because they couldn't see eye to eye.
You go.
Mm-hmm. This week's garden joke is brought to you by Rescue.com. American-made rescue products keep your family, home, and yard protected from pests, insects like wasps, hornets, yellow jackets, flies, ants, and more. Learn more at Rescue.com. That's RESCUE.com. So we're going to talk about container gardening. Container gardening is, some people call it growing in pots. Some people call it growing in containers. Some people call it...
People can grow it. We grow in containers as well. We grow in containers as well as raised beds in the ground.
Right. And
so it's not an exclusivity.
No. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that you can call it many things, and you can use it to enhance your garden, or you can grow in it only exclusively.
And there's certain things in which you should be growing in them, like mint, rather than in the ground. Otherwise, you're going to have invasive, and some people grow raspberries in them. But there's some ways in which we can have better containers, okay? First of all, let's talk about the size of the container, whether it's a grow bag, whether it's a terracotta pot, whether it's a barrel or a bucket. Size of the container matters. The larger the container, the more mass of soil you're going to have, the quicker the more mass you're going to have, the slower the evaporation of that water in that soil will be. If you have 1 gallon, it's going to dry out much quicker than a 5-gallon or 55-gallon half-barrel drum or whiskey barrel or a grow bag. So you want to keep that in mind. Obviously, it's up to your ability to have the amount of soil in which is needed to grow. So if you're in a situation where I only have X amount of resources in order to do a 10-gallon grow bag, and I really need a 25-gallon grow bag or barrel, I would advise not even to do it, because you're going to set yourself up for failure already by not having the adequate resources needed in order to grow certain plants, because your container is already too small.
Yeah, definitely. So you want to think about things like drainage holes you might come upon. You might think this container is perfect for planting, whatever, and you might find something free on the side of the road or see it like a marketplace or something, but can you put drainage holes in it? And this is important because you want to make sure that the water can drain out. Otherwise, your roots can rot, and that's not good.
Plants need oxygen in the soil. Roots need oxygen. If you don't have it, you got a swamp. And only specific plants grow well in a swamp, and none of your vegetables are those special plants.
Right. Or
flowers, for that matter.
Right. Now you could get away with putting some rocks in the bottom and then putting a different container inside of it. Like
right.
say it's a very large container. You could do that with drainage holes, and that way the water would go somewhere, but then you would have to
eventually it's going to
come back up. So it's not the best idea.
On a bucket, for instance, this is you see people use buckets, and there's nothing wrong with that. Food grade, preferably, not motor oil was in it. You want to put your holes not at the bottom, but about an inch up around the perimeter, which gives you about a 1 to 2 inch water reservoir. Even though there's soil in the whole bucket, water is going to settle in the bottom of that bucket, and excess will flow out of the holes 5 around the perimeter, 1 to 2 inches up. So whenever the soil is lacking in moisture above, capillary action can wick that moisture that's setting in the bottom of that bucket up into the main area of the bucket where the roots are at. So it kind of saves you a little bit and has a little bit of a self-watering system, but you still have to water on a regular basis. That's just kind of an emergency backup.
Right. So that's you want to think about the drainage holes. Also, when you are growing in containers, you want to think about how many plants per container. So you can refer back to almost like the square foot gardening method, where, like, for example, if you're using a 5-gallon bucket, you would put 1 tomato plant. You wouldn't put 2 or 3. Or say the same size, you could put 16 radishes. I think it's 9 beets. So you want to think about the surface area of what you are planting and what you can put in there.
Is there a bad container?
I don't think so, unless it...
I think depth is your biggest... Depth and volume is your 2 big check boxes. Okay, I've got at least 6 to 8 inches of depth, and I've got a good amount of mass of soil. It's not going to dry out as quickly, and there's nutrients. Let's talk about nutrients.
Tires.
Tires is a good one, yeah.
You don't want to grow in tires.
Edible things,
yeah, right.
With the growing in containers, there is going to be what is called leaching. You water, it rains. There's a certain amount of nutrient that flows out of that soil and disperses itself either out of the grow bag, out of the bottom of the bucket, out of the bottom of whatever it is. You're going to have to supplement with some type of fertilizer, or instead of supplementing fertilizer, top dressing it with a couple of cups of worm castings or compost tea or compost itself to reestablish that nutrient value in that container so your plants are not suffering. And the biggest detriment to your plants is lack of nutrient on top of forgetting to water. And then you try to go both at the same time. Well, the plant's really wilty. It's really yellow. It needs nitrogen. It needs nutrients. It's been dry for 3 days. I haven't watered. It's hard to get that thing to recover and recover to a productive state that it would have been if you had not forgot to water it. The DripWorks makes great irrigation systems for containers. A container garden, dripworks.com. So it can be set on a timer. You can do, Wi-Fi stuff. You can do all these things in which you can supplement water, and you can do this.
I think that's Bluetooth, but yeah.
Bluetooth, yeah. You can do this on a patio, porch, deck, at an apartment complex. If you're on the deck of a second or a third or fourth of a condo or whatever, be sure you not water and the water drips down on the nice people below you. Put some kind of catchment system underneath your container.
Right. Yeah. So you want to think about, where you're going to plant these things. And as Joyce has mentioned, if you are in an apartment building on a balcony, you don't want to drip on your neighbors.
Also, you got to think about weight restriction if you're in something that's...
But just even if you don't have that situation, you might not want to put it, and we're going to talk about this in the next segment, like shade versus sun, etc. But you want to think about where you're going to put it, especially if it's something that might be heavy once you fill it up, because you might not want to drag it around.
Fill it up where you're wanting it to go. Well, also, you bring about the shade thing. There may be situations in places in which you don't have an option of moving it to full sun. You may only get several hours of sunlight a day based on the way the sun goes your backyard, if you're renting on your deck, patio, your balcony. So you may have to alter what you're growing. You may not be able to grow what you want because of the less amount of sunlight that you have available that the plants need full sun. For example, beefsteak tomatoes, full sun. You can grow cherry tomatoes in partial shade, which is, 5-6 hours. So you have to adapt and be aware of what your conditions and your situation is. You have to...
Yeah, definitely. And then also think about, you can use trellises support. Many people don't think about that stuff with container gardening, they think it's just going to sit there.
You can't have it. You can't have a trellis on a container. Yeah,
you can. You can. You certainly can. One thing I did want to mention is that if you are growing something that's invasive, like Joey had mentioned, mint. Did you mention mint?
Yes. Yep. That was not rehearsal.
That something like dill may not stay inside the container like mint will. Not that the dill is going to grow outside of the container, but once it starts to seed,
it will.
It will.
Yeah. In some state parks, mint is considered an invasive species because it is so aggressive. When it seeds and continues, and it's almost impossible to get rid of without chemicals.
Who's planting mint in state parks?
No, dill.
Oh, dill.
Yeah.
Because
birds.
Who's planting dill?
Well, birds will bring it in. You can bring it on your clothes. You don't. Seeds travel in very mysterious ways.
So you sit there before you go camping. You hiking.
I got my water, my hiking sticks, and my pocket full of dill seeds. Yeah. In case I want to eat a pickle.
Okay.
Make pickles on the way.
Another thing that people don't think about in containers is using mulch. And this can be very handy because containers do dry out and a little bit quicker most of the time. Mm-hmm. So you can use mulch to help, because a lot of times people think about mulch and weeds and might think, okay, I'm not going to have weeds in my container, which you could get weeds in your container, but you can use mulch.
Mulch can be anything that you want. Shredded paper. You can go somewhere, your discretion, and get a bucket of sand and utilize that as mulch. That works. Straw, anything, leaves, anything that you can think of, you can utilize as mulch. So in a container, you can do that and be very successful at it because, like you said, it's elevated. It's going to dry out quicker, and that can save your plants immensely by utilizing mulch.
Well, we are brought to you today by our sponsor, Walton's Inc. Listen, we know you care about where your food comes from, canning and preserving, etc. But what about the meat? At waltonsinc.com, you can get the equipment, seasoning, and supplies to make sausage, jerky, and any other meat product your way to your high standards. Do you want to make snack sticks that people will actually like? Walton's created meatgistics.com, an informational site to help you make the best finished product. Walton's even has a full line of their own meat grinders, mixers, and sausage stuffers to help you go from animal to edible. Walton's everything but the meat. You can use code GROW50, that's GROW50, to save 10% off your order of $50 or more. When we return, shade-tolerant plants as well as some plants that like soggy soil. You're tuned into the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Make watering easy. DripWorks provides quality drip irrigation supplies and equipment to gardeners just like you for all your growing needs across the U.S. and Canada. Purchase online at dripworks.com.
Jung Seed Company is a family-owned and operated gardening company since 1907 with the largest selection of seeds and plants online. Use coupon code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at jungseed.com. That coupon code is 15TG25 to save 15% off your order at jungseed.com.
Have you ever looked at a perfect green lawn and thought, how do the pros do it? You don't have to wonder anymore. LawnSynergy.com delivers professional fertilizer and grass seed specifically formulated by landscaping professionals Tony and Peter. Get the stuff that works. Go to LawnSynergy.com today. Used to alleviate pain throughout history, the common milkweed has been rediscovered. Today, Milkweed Balm helps relieve pain and restore mobility naturally. Pure plant-based relief for aching joints, nerves, and muscles. Experience the healing power of nature. Try Milkweed Balm today. Use code GARDENING for 20% off your order at milkweedbalm.com. David J. Frank, Southeastern Wisconsin's leading landscape company, is a landscaper you need. Their award-winning services include everything from lawn care, landscape maintenance, design, construction, renovation, irrigation, sustainability, and more. Big or small, let the experts at David J. Frank handle the hard work for you. Find out more at davidjfrank.com. My garden hasn't looked this good in a decade. That's what gardeners are saying about Carricade. No extra fertilizers, no harsh sprays, just thriving plants and massive blooms. Rated 4.8 stars. Shop Carricade.com and use the code RADIO10, that's Radio10, to save 10% off your order at Carricade.com. Pomona's Universal Pectin is a high-quality pectin that gels reliably with low amounts of any sweetener. If you're trying to reduce the amount of sugar in your diet, You'll love Pomona's Universal Pectin. Now you can make healthy homemade jams and jellies sweetened to your taste. You can use sugar or honey to sweeten. Pomona's Universal Pectin keeps indefinitely when stored in an airtight container. Easy to use, versatile, and comes with directions and recipes in every box. Find out more and where to buy at PomonaPectin.com. Also available at natural food stores and online.
Have insects such as aphids or fungal gnats invaded your plants? Fight back with Summit Year-Round Spray Oil and Summit Mosquito Bits. Organic Summit Year-Round Spray Oil kills insect pests on indoor and outdoor plants. All natural mosquito bits kill fungal gnats larvae in container plants. Both products are harmless to people, plants, and wildlife. Summit Year-Round Spray Oil and Summit Mosquito Bit are available at garden centers, hardware stores, and at SummitResponsibleSolutions.com.
Wind River Chimes will always be the inspiring harmony. With a large selection and customization options, you will find the sound that soothes you. Visit windriverchimes.com to shop and find out more.
Welcome back to the Garden with Joy and Holly radio show. Happy to have you along. Thank you for allowing us to be part of your day just for a little bit. When it comes to plants, you got to know what they like. And some plants like partial shade, some plants like a little bit more shade, some plants like wet feet, other plants like dry and damp conditions.
Right. And so you want to, if you're not sure what full sun or partial shade or partial sun is, etc., full sun is 6 to 8 hours, so basically all day. Or plus. Partial sun is 3 to 6 hours of direct sunlight, and partial shade is about 3 hours of direct sunlight. So you can also utilize, like, for example, if you have an area where you might get a lot of sun in the morning, you can kind of take that into consideration, or you get a lot of sun in the evening. That's still considered partial sun, partial shade, but it could work in your advantage if you use like a trellising system or something like that. So then deep shade, light shade is if you get like a filtered leaf situation, like you have a tree over that area. Most plants don't do super well in the filtered shade, but you could try to grow some things. And then deep shade or full shade is typically not where you're going to be able to grow much at all. Probably just weeds. So some things that do well in partial shade or partial sun, whichever way you want to say it, are cole crops. So this is like
C-O-L-E.
Also known as cruciferous vegetables a lot of times. I think there's another word for them, but
brassicas.
Yeah, brassicas, there we go. So it's like broccoli, cauliflower, turnips, kale, rutabagas, kohlrabi, and they do well. Sometimes they might not form, like cabbage might form more of like a looser
Now
head.
these are not summer hot day crops here.
No. None of these really are. So that's another thing to keep in mind is if you only have partial shade, you could probably grow like the summery vegetables like tomatoes, green peppers, or peppers in general, squash. I'm trying to think of more summery vegetables. Cucumbers. You could grow those possibly, but they might not do as well or be as large.
So a lot of things in which you want to consider here, and it changes throughout the growing season. Oh, it's full sun right now. Oh, there's a tree above. It's going to get partial shade.
Yeah. So that's another thing is if this is your first year growing, you definitely want to look above where you're going to grow, and then also take that into consideration. And maybe if you are concerned about a tree or a garage or a building or your house, or
it can benefit
whatever.
you. You can put your more sensitive plants in the area where the shade is going to be distributed during the hottest portion of the day, so you can kind of work in that area. If a plant is more daylight sensitive, like the early season, late season, you can put that crop in that shady area so it gets midday shade and kind of prolongs, like lettuce, prolongs the harvest rather than it going to bolt right away, because it's not so much the heat, it's the day length in addition to the combination of heat as well. because we see it. It goes, 40 to 60 degree days, 90 degree day. Everything goes to bolt.
Yeah.
But it's also the day length. At that point, when it gets to 90, your days get much longer.
Right. And then, so there's a little saying that I say sometimes.
Go for it.
I learned it from. It's if you grow it for the roots or the fruits, you need full sun. If you grow it for the shade or for the greens, you can grow it in the shade. Now, with that being said, you can grow things like radishes, like the smaller root crops, even beets.
Some carrots.
Even some potatoes will do okay, especially if you have like a lot of morning sun or evening sun. You really want to take advantage of that.
The potatoes are going to do fine unless you're in an area where the soil temperature at root zone exceeds 85 degrees. They are tolerable through the summer, and they do quite well if you keep the moisture to them. They do not do well when the soil temperature at root zone falls below about 45, 50 degrees. That's when you're going to have problems. So what about some plants that enjoy more wet conditions? I know cranberries are one of them. They like a boggy area. You can grow cranberries in your backyard. It's not as profitable or production-wise as buying them from in the fall, but you can do it.
I personally would not grow cranberries.
You don't like cranberries at all?
Cranberries, but also,
why would you grow cranberries then?
But also, they are around the fall, they become like $1 a pound. They're like ridiculously cheap.
But we grew sweet corn one year and put a lot of effort and energy into it to video it and
cranberries.
No,
you would convert your backyard to a cranberry bog.
Well,
that would definitely
depends on some people's location of the backyard.
Raise some eyebrows of the neighbors.
Well, they're talking about you anyway, so what's the difference?
I mean, I don't like cranberries enough.
No, I mean, we grew corn and we never grew it again, but we wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And it was good too.
It was good.
But it was just so much energy input on our end in order to get one ear per stalk.
We really did put a lot of effort into it, but it was fun. It was fun to grow. So anything that has a shallow root will do okay being soggy because it's not going to be susceptible to.
No, we're talking soggy. We're not talking like laying in a swamp area. We're talking about wet soil.
Maybe you have like a lower lying area that gets a lot of, when it rains, it kind of takes a while to dry out.
But it's not standing water. It's not drowning in a water like a pond.
No.
Yeah.
So lettuce does well because it has the shallow roots. And also it does appreciate, a lot of times when there's a lot of water, that means coolness, and lettuce likes the coolness. Cabbage and kale also do very well in the same situation. And then you can kind of get away with the vining vegetables as long as you have some sunlight. Because they're vining, you have to get them you want to get them off the ground anyway. So since they're growing up, they'll be okay in more wet conditions. And plus things like cucumbers and beans and peas, they like a lot of water. Not that your other plants don't, but a lot of water is not the worst thing. Especially
they're very thirsty.
Especially cucumbers. Yes. Yeah, because they're like 95% water, whatever.
Right. Watermelon, if in the right condition, watermelon likes a lot of moisture, and it likes a lot of heat. That as well. Same for eggplant and okra. As long as you can keep the moisture to them, the hotter it is, the better it is for them. But they don't like wet feet. There's got to be some conditions of breathable soil conditions.
So let's talk about that. You can't necessarily control how much shade you have, but you could control the moisture in a way. And that could be anywhere from switching to raised beds, or if you have an option for like straw bales.
Yeah, straw bale gardening.
And I was going to mention that in the first segment, but straw bale gardening is a good option if you have an area that just gets absolutely flooded. And
what was it that they were in? Was it Denmark that they would get flooded?
Denmark, yeah.
They would get flooded a lot, like a foot, and the bales are 18, 20 inches on edge when you lay it on the side, and the garden would always do well because that bale would only absorb enough moisture, and then it would repel what it didn't need.
Yeah.
And they would have phenomenal gardens all year long when that flooding was happening because everybody else's garden was gone, and the bales were elevated and absorbed like a sponge, and then once it was had the moisture in it, it wouldn't suck up anymore.
Yeah, so that's an option for you to definitely use straw bales. I think I would do that, or again, containers, or if it's something where you are determined to grow in the ground, bring some soil in, bring some compost in.
Certified. Make sure you know the source. Make sure it's legit. It's not just somebody that says, hey, I've got some free dirt. Dirt is not compost. Fill is not compost. That is just junk that they've scraped off the top in order to utilize an area to start building somewhere. They've just scraped the topsoil off with all the other junk that's in the soil, rocks, weed seeds. It's not been conditioned. It's not been treated in the heat treating process that traditional compost is made, where it gets to 170 degrees in windrows and it bakes the seeds so they're not viable.
Right.
I think we talked, was it last week or the week before? Just because it's free or just because it's cheap, you're probably going to pay for it in the long run.
Yeah. You know, what's funny is that we were talking, Joey wasn't there, but we were talking with my family about how there were these random daffodils and growing in our garden, and my dad was like, well, maybe Joey brought in some soil from somewhere random and the daffodil bulbs were in there. And I was like, first of all, Joey would not bring him random soil from
You don't
somewhere.
do that.
Yeah. And I got a little defensive.
Yeah, well,
It's like, what are you accusing my husband of?
we planted them years ago, and then we transitioned to raised beds. And that's where I was going to do a permanent flower bed there, and then we moved to raised beds, and
I remember now.
daffodils were part of the deal there. Yeah.
So anyway, surprise daffodils.
So there are plants that in which can be grown, and your mileage varies. Your plant's mileage will vary. So before you just say, oh, well, and then plant, you want to do your research. And you can variation the plants. You don't have to have all one type of plant in one low-lying area or an area in which water retains on a regular basis. If you're in an area that water retains on a regular basis, you can look at different ways of getting drainage out of that. If you're in a low lier, you can put drainage in the garden or in the yard in order to shed that water away. Or some people will take, okay, this particular area in my garden is a low-lying area. I'm going to make a retention pond to hold that water, bring wildlife in, have a little solar sprinkler or fountain in it, so you can utilize the land, lay the land in order to benefit your property. Check with your ordinance to make sure that what you do is up to code and you don't have to pay penalties or fines, and just be aware of that. That's your warning. You do what you want, or do it at night, and nobody will see you.
I don't know. Somebody might see you.
Yeah.
Depending on what
Everybody's seeing everybody.
nosy neighbors.
Yeah. Soon it'll be warming up, Holly. It is going to be summer here, and you will want to protect your garden from those Japanese beetles, grubs, and alike.
Yeah, you know, spring is here. Spring has sprung, and soon it'll be summer, and you got to think about those beetles and grubs in your yard.
Grub Gone is the answer. Grub Gone can be applied to your turf, around ornamentals, to control grubs, to impact the lesson those beetles will have on your yard this summer. Easy to apply with a commercial spreader or irrigate it right in the soil, specifically designed when it goes in your soil to target those beetles and grubs without harming beneficial insects such as bees, ladybugs, and butterflies.
And to be honest, it's the only non-chemical that works. Find out more at phyllumbioproducts.com. That's PHYLLOM bioproducts.com.
When we return, Maria Rodale, author, will be with us. You're tuned into the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Have a garden question? Give Joey and Holly a call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now 1-800-927-SHOW.
Chip Drop is a website you can sign up for free wood chip mulch delivery right to your door for free. Chip Drop connects homeowners and gardeners with tree services who are trying to get rid of their wood chips. You can also sign up to get free logs and firewood. Go to chipdrop.com to learn more and sign up for a free account. Watering is the key to a healthy garden, but it can take up a lot of your time. Water less with Soil Moist. Grow beautiful plants with less water. Soil Moist polymers reduce your plant's watering by 50%, reduce transplant shock and soil compaction, and are effective in your soil for 3 to 5 years.
It is an effective watering management aid that is ideal for internal and external plantings, such as trees, shrubs, containers, baskets, flower beds, vegetables, and turf. Soil Moist acts as a form of insurance for your plants and is environmentally friendly. It is easy to apply at the time of planting or transplanting. Spend more time doing what you enjoy and let Soil Moist work smarter for you. Bolster your plant's nutrient and water uptake with Soil Moist. Enhance microbial and plant growth. No need to spend extra time worrying about watering your plants. Easy to follow instructions right on the label. To find where to purchase and to see all their products, contact your local garden center or visit soilmoist.com. Tree Ivy Root Development System, the quickest way to get new trees on their feet. treeiv.com. Save your back. Easily and quickly remove trees and shrubs from your property with the Weed Wrench. Find it at weed-wrench.com. Made in the USA. Use coupon code WEED to save $10 off your Weed Wrench at weed-wrench.com. Mantis Garden Tiller cultivators are the perfect solution for any garden. With their gas-powered 2-cycle or 4-cycle engine, these powerful machines can till 9 or 16 inches of land without you breaking a sweat. And it doesn't stop there. Mantis's optional attachments allow you to aerate, plow, and more with the snap of a finger. Engineered with durability in mind, Mantis Tiller cultivators will be your guaranteed garden companion for a long time. You can find more out and details at mantis.com.
Tarps.com supplies a wide variety of tarps, canopy, and canopy fittings, polyvinyl mesh, canvas, clear, and more. They have been around for over 25 years. From a small to the largest tarp you can imagine in a variety of colors, visit tarps.com. Totally Tomato is a family-owned and operated gardening company with the largest selection of tomatoes online. Use code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at totallytomato.com. That's code 15TG25.
Edmonds Roses is a family-owned and operated rose company with the largest selection of roses online. Use coupon code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at edmondroses.com. That coupon code is 15TG25 to save 15% off your order at edmondsroses.com.
Are you bugged by bugs? You need naturally green products, No More Bugs, environmentally friendly. Made in the USA, No More Bugs is a cedar blend that repels and eliminates mosquitoes, no-see-ums, ticks, fleas, roaches, ants, and more. No More Bugs is safe for you, your pets, and plants. Available online at nomorebugs.net, Amazon, Walmart.com, and the Home Shopping Network. Azure Standard is America's premier family-owned online store for organic foods and healthy products for your home and garden. They deliver directly to families and commercial customers through over 3,500 drop points across all 50 states. Azure Standard strives to make grocery shopping easy, bringing all your needs to one convenient pickup location. As a trusted national health food distributor, Azure Standard offers bulk and specialty health foods to communities nationwide. With over 12,000 products, each one is approved and carefully sampled to ensure the highest quality. Azure Standard holds firm to non-GMO, organic, and natural standards. From food and beauty products to household items, nutritional supplements, animal care, hobby supplies, and even garden essentials, Azure Standard truly has everything for your daily living. Visit azurestandard.com, that's A-Z-U-R-E standard.com. Use promo code Joey and Holly 15 at checkout to get 15% off for new customers who open an account for the first time and place a minimum order of $100 or more, shipped to a drop location of your choice. That's code Joey and Holly 15 at azurestandard.com. Azure Standard is A-Z-U-R-E standard.com.
Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Happy to have you along. Miss any of those coupon codes or want to check out the sponsor you've heard, you can visit our parent website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, underneath the Season 9 tab at the top of the page. Holly, let's go to the hotline and bring in our guest for this week.
Maria Rodale is an author, gardener, mother, grandmother, board member for the Rodale Institute, and passionate about organic farming and gardening. Her book is Love, Nature, Magic, Shamanic Journeys into the Heart of My Garden Organic Manifesto. Welcome to the program, Maria.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, we appreciate you taking time out of your day to join Holly, myself, and all of our listeners. And I'll start with this. You enjoy the gardening for many reasons. Why is the garden so magical to you?
Well, the garden is a magical place because everything is alive and conscious and just surprising and entertaining. So I just love the interaction with every living thing.
Well, and you bring that up because you can sit in the garden in the summer and you can see the flies, you can see the butterflies, you can see the bugs flying around. And if you flip the soil over and you've got healthy soil, there's a whole magnitude of a world in which we don't necessarily appreciate the way we should.
Exactly. They say that there's more living things in a tablespoon of soil than people on planet Earth.
That's definitely amazing. So, speaking of, soil, what is the Rodale Institute, and what role does it play in organic farming?
So the Rodale Institute is a nonprofit that does scientific research comparing organic and regenerative organic agriculture to conventional agriculture. And it's the longest running side-by-side study in the world that does that. And we are considered the originators of the organic movement and the regenerative organic movement. So our research has shown that organic is just so much better for the soil, for the water, for climate, for our human health, and it's just as productive and even more profitable than conventional agriculture.
And then, let's step back for people who are not familiar about the term organic. That really didn't originate until after World War II. Prior to World War II, nobody gardened organically. It was just that was the way it was gardened. You didn't use chemicals or really necessarily fertilizer in a bag. That all changed after the World War II era.
Yeah, I write about this in my book, Organic Manifesto. I write about the history of when we started using chemicals, and it actually started before World War II, and especially in the fruit production agriculture. So we've been using chemicals for a long time, but definitely the term organic farming and agriculture started in 1940.
Okay. That's why we bring guests on, because we're not always right, and I appreciate you correcting us on that information there.
So please tell us more about your book, the as you call it, the Organic Manifesto, and maybe what our listeners could expect when they pick up a copy. Kind of give us a little tease about it, etc.
So I wrote Organic Manifesto actually quite a while ago, in 2010, and that's a history of how we started using chemicals, why we started using chemicals, and what organic agriculture and farming is really about. And why it's important that we do it, why it's the most important thing we do. My new book is called Love Nature Magic, and that I kind of go on an adventure where I do shamanic journeys to talk to the plants, animals, insects in my garden to try to understand what their purpose is, especially the ones that annoy me.
Would that be the bad bugs or just ones that have beneficial purposes but just bother you when you're out there?
Well, I started with plants that annoyed me and a few bugs that annoy me. And then I started just having so much fun with it that I started talking to everything. But, I started with the plant mugwort, which is considered an invasive weed. And my yard is filled with mugwort, and I wanted to understand why it was there and what it was trying to do. And in the process, I uncovered this incredible history of the mugwort plant, and it really gave me a newfound respect for not just mugwort, but really everything that is around us that we have been trained to think of as a pest or a weed, but is really a powerful, beneficial, useful, and sacred, plant or being.
With the invasive, with those weeds that you find, it ties into the organic farming. You can utilize those for a beneficial, helping protect plants from bugs or turning them into fertilizer so you can avoid the chemical aspect of traditional agriculture?
Yeah, actually, for the last 2 years, I've been experimenting in my own garden where I have almost completely stopped weeding altogether. And what I have found is that my plants are thrilled. My roses have tripled in size, and some, even like trees that were struggling have just exploded with growth. And the other thing I notice is that, I have groundhogs in my yard, and they love to eat the weeds. So when they're eating the weeds, they don't have to eat my vegetables. So it's been a win-win situation.
Now, do you contribute? And my thought is, if you don't weed, yes, the weeds take some nutrient from the soil, but they create basically a living mulch. They protect the soil from being dried out and allowing your vegetables to be more moist and being able to grow
exactly.
better. Okay, that's what.
And I also think there's some interaction with the roots underground that are supporting each other, and that's based on some science that I've read about trees. How trees, even different species of trees, communicate underground through their roots and the fungi, and that helps the whole forest. And I think the same thing is happening in our gardens.
Now, I grew up in an agricultural farm, big ag. What is organic farming and the gardening? Why is it so important for the transition to try to get more farms to transition to organic gardening versus what we know today as conventional big ag farming?
Well, the essential thing is that organic farming is not poisoning our bodies, our children, our water, our environment, and our soil. And it's enabling to, and this is actually comes from research from the Rodale Institute, that when the soil is organic and it's alive and it's filled with, fungi and microorganisms, it's actually storing carbon, pulling carbon from the air and storing it in the ground where it belongs. So it's a solution for the, climate concerns as well.
Now, in your opinion, how do we get some of these farms to transition over? Or is it one of these sad things where we have to allow that generation to pass away and allow the new generation to take over and realize how beneficial organic farming is?
Well, I'm very hopeful about the new generations. What I have found in Manifesto, I actually did focus group research with chemical farmers to find out, why they did what they did and what was stopping them from changing. And a lot of it wasn't science-based. It wasn't even economic-based, because economically they're falling behind. It's like economics 101 is not working for them. But it's emotional and it's social. Like, they don't want to be different than their neighbors. They don't want their fields to look messy. It's very sad. And usually what happens, the thing that changes a person's mind, well, like you said, death, sickness, somebody in the family gets very sick, or if it's a woman getting pregnant, when all of a sudden she becomes concerned about, growing a child inside of her. Those are the big gateways to organic. But from a business economic sense, it just makes so much more sense. I mean, you're not transporting chemicals from all around the world that are, made from petroleum. It's crazy. And a lot of the things that people are using chemicals for, like corn and corn and soy, humans don't even eat those foods. They're turned into biofuels, and they use as much fuel to make as they do to use. So it's really a kind of a no-win situation. And we have to get back to thinking of land as providing food and sustenance and nourishment for everything on it. And instead of feeding cows corn and soy, we should be feeding cows grass, which is better for us. Their stomachs are made to eat grass, not corn and soy. And what we have found at the Institute is that the farms that use animal manure are, organic composted animal manure are actually the most productive farms, the most productive soil. And, what you have in commercial animal major corporate farming is you have cows that are eating things they don't want to eat, and their waste going into vats where people are just storing it, and nothing is getting used in the right way, and no one is happy. So there's a lot of great success stories out there of people doing well. And Will Harris in Georgia is someone who I think, if people have questions, they should look up what he's doing and see the incredible work he's doing on his farm.
And you talk about the input and output. This spring, as people drive around and you see these tractors in the field, those tractors are burning roughly between 10 and 15 gallons of diesel fuel an hour to operate at a cost of about $4 to $5 based on what part of the country you're in for diesel fuel, agricultural diesel fuel. So there's a lot of energy and a lot of money going for those tractors just to move up and down the field in hopes to get something planted, in hopes to make very little and survive.
Yeah. I mean, the best thing that they could do is turn those fields into pasture and put cows or sheep on them. That's the most efficient, productive thing they could do, and the most healthy thing. But a lot of farmers are also really trapped in a cycle of debt from those big tractors,
right?
And it's hard for them to see a way out of it.
Definitely. So we've really enjoyed having you on the program. Maria, can you tell us how people can find out more about you and your books and your information?
Well, my books are all available on Amazon. If you go on or Barnes & Noble, if you type in my name, Maria Rodale. But the best way to keep in touch with me is through Substack. I have a Substack newsletter called Life Unfiltered, where I write usually twice a week, and you can comment and communicate with me, and I will answer every comment. And I love to hear from people, and I love to hear questions and everyone's thoughts about the world we're in right now, which is definitely a strange one.
Well, Maria, thank you so much for the time you've offered Holly, myself, and the education. We thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. And when we return, it's Your Garden Questions and Our Garden Answers. You're tuned into the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Good garden tools make gardening easier. Wisconsin-made Cobra Head tools simplify weeding, cultivating, digging, and planting. Favorites of professional gardeners, Cobra Head tools are durable, ergonomic, and easy to work with. Visit cobrahead.com and use coupon code SOIL for 10% off your order.
Do you have pets trying to leave your fenced area or pests trying to enter your fenced area or garden? Dig Defense provides peace of mind that your pets are contained safely and humanely in your yard, and other animals or pests stay out. With several sizes to pick from, Dig Defense is the easy, safe way to extend the protection of your fence, protecting your pets and your property. Find out more at stopthedig.com. 4-Jar Canning Supply, your one-stop shop for all your canning needs, where old ways meet new in every jar. They are a family with decades of home canning experience, offering top-quality products and outstanding service. Never run out of canning lids again. Whether you're a seasoned canner or just starting out, their extensive range of canning products will elevate your canning game. 4Jars.com. Inspired by the homemade preserves of our childhoods, they want to share that same joy with you. They deeply care about your family's health and understand the importance of homemade, nutritious meals. That's why they offer high-quality products to help you preserve your food. Quality canning lids, pressure canners, vacuum seal machines, and all the tools you need to get the job done. 4 Jars has you covered. Our canning lids provide the perfect airtight seal for any regular, wide, or gym-sized jar. With the thickest lids on the market, they provide long-lasting freshness, up to 18 months, and are rust-resistant, ensuring your preserves stay secure. Use code 4JARS25 to save 10% off your order at 4jars.com. That's FORJARS25 to save 10% off your order at 4jars, FORJARS.com.
Want bigger blooms and better yields? Without the hassle, Carricade makes gardening easy with eco-friendly, effective solutions. Rated 4.8 stars, trusted by growers like you. Shop Carricade.com and use the code RADIO10, that's RADIO10, to save 10% off your order at Carricade.com. RH Shumway is a family-owned and operated gardening company with a large selection of seeds and plants online. You can use code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at rhshumway.com. That's code 15TG25. Roots and Rhizomes is a family-owned and operated gardening company specializing in daylilies, irises, and perennials. Use code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at rootsrhizomes.com. That's code 15TG25.
If you could double the life of your raised bed boxes by sealing the wood with a clear, non-toxic wood preservative, would you? Well, now you can with a clear, penetrating product called Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's 100% non-toxic and easy to apply. Seal your untreated wood surfaces, even chicken coops, by spraying on Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's invisible, seals the wood from the inside out, and never wears off. Recommended by organic gardening experts. Internal Wood Stabilizer. Check it out at timberprocoatingsusa.com. Vermont Bean Company is a family-owned and operated gardening company with the largest selection of seeds online. Use coupon code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at vermontbean.com. That coupon code is 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at vermontbean.com. Welcome back to the Garden with Joe and Holly radio show. Happy to have you. Long time for your garden questions, our garden answers. You got a question, send it on over to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Or you can give us a call toll free, coast to coast, anytime to 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. All right, Holly, I use a lot of mulched leaves in my garden. I have a problem with ticks in my garden as a result of doing that. This is quite bothersome here in Kansas City. Almost makes me not want to use leaves in my garden. Do you have any tips regarding that?
So ticks are not fun.
We had, Summit Responsible Solutions has a tick a spray that you can utilize around your garden and around your property. And we had him on, what was his name? Bill? Was that right?
Oh, yeah.
I just go to responsiblesolutions.com. Summit is the company, and they have a lot of information on their website regarding ticks and other insects and controlling them, and the products in which will control them because they're tried and true and tested products. Next question here. Can I take granular fertilizer and mix it with water to hurry it up for use? Bought that kind this year instead of the water mix kind. Not sure how much to use. Thanks. Love your show here in Southern California.
So with that being
said... First of all, thank you. We don't have a terrestrial radio station out there, but they do gather it on either YouTube or podcast platforms.
Right. So most granule fertilizers can be dissolved into water. You just want to make sure that it's water soluble.
Right.
So it's designed to be...
There are some that it will not work.
Right. So there are some that will not work. They're not water soluble. So you want to make sure that it is water soluble, and then you can, add it to the water. I would approximate the application rate. So I wouldn't mix a whole batch. I would figure how much, say if it says 1 cup per X amount of square feet or whatever, I would approximate that, add it to the water, make sure it gets broken down, and then apply it to that area. I wouldn't mix it all together at the same time.
So to be clear, you just can't throw any fertilizer you bought on sale in water and it'll accelerate the use. It doesn't work that way. It will say on the bag somewhere water soluble. Otherwise,
if you're not sure, you could always go to the website of the product.
Non-water soluble granular fertilizer is designed to release nutrients slowly over time and may not dissolve in water, and that they are typically applied directly to the soil. Water-soluble fertilizer is formulation to break down and dissolve in water, making them ideal application through irrigation systems or backpack or foliar spray. So be aware. There's nothing wrong with applying the fertilizer to the soil. Working in the granular, yeah.
Yeah, but some people might find it easier to apply it with a liquid or something like that. But it's simply just a matter of spreading it around and then watering it in as well.
Right. All right. Best amendments for my garden. It's not draining properly. So we talked a little bit about water issues in the second segment with soggy plants plants like soggy soil. There's number one answer is add compost. If you got clay soil, compost will naturally start breaking the components of that clay down. There's a lot of nutrient in the clay soil. It's just so locked up and dense that the plants can't access it, and the water holds it just is very wet. Compost, aged chicken manure, horse, sheep, cow manure, well-aged will do fine with this. Organic additives like chemical-free, seed-free grass clippings, composted leaves, add leaves in the fall, just mound them up literally like a mountain of leaves through your garden. And by spring, they will have broke down or compressed about 50 to 70%. And then you can plant around them, move them back and plant amongst them. Or if you choose to till, you can work those leaves into the ground and they will begin to break down and break apart that soil, and accessible drainage will be available. So, shredded leaves is a great source. Now, the manure, if you get manure, you want to be careful where that source is. What was the animal fed? Is it killer compost? That type of thing. You can look up killer compost. Essentially, the farmers spray chemicals on the fields in order to kill broadleaf plants. It's not toxic to
the animal. They eat the broadleaf sprayed plants. It doesn't get broken down in their digestive system or even while it's curing or aging or whatever it's called. And then when you use it as fertilizer, it does affect certain plants, especially is it like
broadleaf.
Beans?
Any broadleaf
vegetable. So you want to know the source of what's being fed to those animals if you're going to utilize the manure.
Now, some people say coarse sand. You can add sand to your garden in quantities in order to get more of a breakup. Perlite is a lightweight volcanic rock that helps increase soil drainage. Vermiculite is another lightweight mineral to help hold water, so you want to be careful which one you get there. Gypsum, you can add gypsum to help do that. Other things is just mulch. And if you
can use a raised bed.
Raised bed is the other option. Straw bale garden,
yeah. So there are options for this particular situation.
Just because you got the problem doesn't mean there's no solution. We've got many options. You have to figure out which one best suits you for your situation and your finances and the commitment you're wanting to put forth. You can spend a lot of money and do it a certain way, but if you're like, I'm going to go play golf instead of garden, really has served nobody any purpose except for the people you bought the stuff from.
Yeah, and you want to be smart. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Well, we are out of time, and we thank you for yours. Missed any portion of the program today or would like to revisit, you can do that by going to your favorite podcast platform and searching the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Tune into the program next week where we'll discuss hot peppers, how they breed them, how they're scored, the Scoville units, the whole thing. It's going to be a fascinating conversation, as well as roses. Our guest, he is the co-owner of a sponsor of Phylum Bioproducts. John Libbs will be with us next week and will answer your garden questions. So until next week, for
Holly Baird,
I'm Joy Baird, and we will see you in the garden.